Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mindful Movement with AARP Alabama. I am your host, Margie Curry, and again today we have our yoga session with our yoga instructor extraordinaire, Becca Impello, who is teaching and practicing yoga for more than 20 years. AARP empowers people to choose how they live as they age. AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to the more than 100 million Americans, 50 plus, and their families, health and financial improvement. AARP Alabama is committed to offering out opportunities for people to stay engaged from your home. You can do it from your home. The Mindful Movement series provides that opportunity for you to stay engaged right from the comfort of your own home. Becca.
Good morning, Margie. How are you today?
I'm great this morning. How are you today?
I'm well. I'm enjoying spring as it comes upon us.
All right. Yes. Beautiful days. Beautiful days. What do you have for us today?
Well, Margie, last time we were together, one of our viewers, mentioned something about wanting to work on strengthening their knees. That was one of the comments that we got. Another one mentioned something about their, SI area. The SI joint is down here at the lower back. So I thought today I would try to address sort of both of those by focusing on the legs, and we'll do strengthening activities for the legs today, which will certainly target the knees and will give us some strengthening in the hips, which is good for that SI joint area. And for spring, what do we like to do? Get out in the yard and garden. So the more mobile we can be in our legs, the more able we're going to be able to get down in the yard.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Sounds fantastic. Now, remember, everyone, before you begin any exercise program, please consult with your physician to make sure that it is okay for you to participate in what we're doing on the program. So at this point, take it away, Becca.
All right. Thank you, Margie. So like I said, we're going to focus on things for our legs. That'll include hips and knees and all the muscles in between, our quadricep muscles, our hamstring muscles, our gluteal muscles mainly. All right. And like I said, these activities will be great for helping us be more mobile and getting, up and down in the yard if we're doing that kind of activity. So just as a reminder, if anything seems like it's problematic for your body, if you've got some, knee pain or some hip pain, you can always make your movements smaller. Do fewer of the movements to sort of test it out, or simply skip anything that just doesn't seem right for you. We'll use the chair for some of our warm-ups, and then you'll have the option to hold on to the chair for some of our standing activities if you need that extra support. And you'll also have the choice to challenge yourself by maybe not holding on to that chair or making your movements bigger if you feel safe doing that. All right, so let's sit tall in the chair and get those feet planted on the ground. And let's just take a few moments to breathe. Put a hand on your heart and another hand on your belly. Maybe close your eyes if you'd like. And just give yourself a moment to feel your breath rise and fall. And start to just take a slightly deeper inhalation that's still comfortable. Slightly longer exhalation. Let's take 3 more deep breaths. One more time, one more big breath in. Feel that chest rise, that belly inflate. Breathe it all out. And then let those arms drop down to your sides. And let's just do a little quick loosening up for the shoulders and the neck area because we don't want to neglect that entirely. So just roll those shoulders a couple of times. Get some blood flowing through there. Maybe give that head a turn from side to side. All right. And then let's bring that awareness down to our pelvis. So sort of from the waist down to the place, that you're resting your weight on in the chair, those sitting bones in the bottom of your pelvis. And I want you just to start to rock forward and rock back. just getting a feel for your sit bones. You kind of roll over them towards the back of them, roll over them towards the front. You'll feel your back doing a bit of movement now as you get bigger, arching a bit as you roll forward, rounding a bit as you roll back. All right, now let's come back to the center, sort of right on top of the sitting bones, and go side to side. And I want you to lift your hip and put the weight on one side at a time, right? I'm going to move my arms just so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm trying to lift that hip up, shortening the waist on one side. All right, now we're going to try to combine those and do more of a circle, right? So I'm going to shift the weight to one side and then come forward, shift the weight to the other side, roll back, and just make a nice circle there around the hips. This helps to loosen up our hip and pelvic muscles, our lower back. You can make this smaller or bigger. Remember, that's always a choice that you could be making. Now let's go the other direction if you're circling. All right, back to center, sit up tall. Go ahead and reach down and see if you can grab hold of your leg. It could be behind the thigh or it could be in front of the knee, and just pick it up as high as you can. Okay, that might be all the way up into your chest. It might just be a few inches off the ground, but go for that movement and then set it down, and then take the other leg and pull it up and down. Try to sit up tall, not leaning back if possible. So we're using our hands to help bring that leg as far up as we can. Do it one more time on each side. All right, now sit right back on top of those sitting bones. Maybe hold on to the chair if you want some extra support, or choose to take the arms out to the side for a little extra challenge. Now we're lifting the legs in that same movement, but without assistance, right? So now we're seeing how far up can I pick up that leg, again, without rolling or leaning back, with just the strength of my hip muscles. Sit up tall. We're also using our core, our belly muscles here to hold a good posture. Remember, the arms can be down. This is just an option. Let's do 4 more. Up as high as you can, not leaning back. Last 2. And then relax the arms down. If they were up, maybe give those shoulders a roll. All right, now we're going to loosen up and warm up the knee joints. So one leg at a time, kick and bend. I want you to pay attention. We don't call this mindful movement for nothing. Part of our intention is to get ourselves really connected to what we're doing and what we're feeling in our bodies, right? So pay attention to that knee. Maybe look at it, maybe even feel it. Certainly sense how it's moving, what the tightness or stiffness there might be, or what the looseness or ease might be. Maybe that's fatigue is starting in that muscle. All right, bring that leg down, take a breath, rest. We'll do the other side. So pay attention to this side. How does this side feel? Any differences in this knee compared to the other one? Again, maybe you touch that kneecap as it moves back and forth. There may be some creaks and cracks, right? That's not always indicative of anything bad. Just kind of a thing that our knee joints tend to do is make some noise. All right, last 3. If you start to feel that quad muscle, the top of your thigh getting a little tired maybe. All right, relax. Take a moment, breathe. All right, next we're going to just pick up that foot and circle, get the ankle moving, loosen up. Again, pay attention to how it feels. And then the other side, circle that ankle. And other way. All right, and down. Now, one of the best things we can do to maintain our fitness and our mobility, and that I tend to incorporate in a lot of my regular weekly classes, my students know that we're often going to do this movement of sit to stand, especially when we do a chair class. And that's good, coming all the way up from a seat and standing up tall, maybe even reaching up and stretching, and then slowly sitting back down with as much control as you can. Now, this forces us to use our muscles at the knee joint, our hip muscles as well, our trunk and core muscles, and it's just a really good movement to be strong and confident at. So you have the choice. However, if it's hard for you to get all the way up, you may push on that chair or push on your thighs, right, to help you. If it's still hard for you to get up and down real easily, well, maybe you do fewer repetitions, or you could also lean forward, push, 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 but not come all the way up. All right, so I'm going to do 5 all the way up and down. You can come along with me for as many as makes sense for you. So standing up, stretching tall, and then sitting down as slowly and evenly as I can. Again, push, push, push. If you just get a little bit off the chair, that's fine. That's a great way to start working on that strength. All right, 3 more. Push, push, push. And then slowly sit. So I'm going to challenge you guys to be working on your sit to stands between now and the next time that we have our yoga mindful movement session. One more time. That'll make 5 for me. You could be, easily able to do more. So maybe your, number of repetitions as you take my challenge is going to be like doing 10 of those a day. Maybe this is a challenge for you and you're going to aim to do 3 a couple times a day or a couple times a week. So that's going to be our challenge. I'll remind you again at the end. All right, before we stand all the way up, let's turn sideways in our chair. All right, so I'm going to hold on to the back of the chair here and take this leg that's in front and try to let it drop down so that the knee points at the floor. Now, again, I'm holding on and, the front half of my body is kind of hanging out of the chair. All right, squeeze that buttock muscle back here. So I'm going to tighten that buttock, pull it down towards the thigh. When I do that, I start to feel some stretch here in the front. And then I can add or reach up with that arm to stretch that side of the body, the front of the thigh, up into the front of the hip, maybe even up here into the chest or the shoulder. All right, release that side. Just going to turn it around. Go to the other side. Taking that front leg as far back as you're comfortably able to go. Also, the foot could be flat, or you could tuck the toes under, or you might have shoes on. You can balance on your tip of your tennis shoe if you've had those on. All right, tuck that tail, squeeze that buttock there. Reach up with the arm if you'd like to add that. Take a couple breaths here. And then release that, and let's come back to center and come on up to standing. All right, so let's come around to the back of our chair, or reposition yourself so that you can stand behind the chair. All right, and so let's stand tall and do a few little ankle work here, up and down on your tiptoes. The banner might be blocking my toes there, but coming up and down, and you're holding on if you need to. Right? To give yourself the support that you need. And if you feel like you can take a little more challenge, maybe you don't hold on, you could even raise the arms up and down if you want. About 3 more of these heel raises. Whoops, I came down a little fast that time, lost my balance. All right, and then let's hold the back of the chair and step one leg as far back as you're comfortable stepping and push into that heel to get a nice stretch on that calf. Leaning into the chair, leaning forward helps to intensify that stretch typically. All right, and then let's switch sides. Simply step the other leg back, push down into that heel, lean forward onto that chair. All right, and then stepping in. Now, I'm going to give you another option that could be a substitute or a progression towards sitting to standing like we did in the chair. So if that one was challenging on your knees, even if you could do it, but then your knees sort of started to complain, for instance, then this next one might be a better place for you to work. And we can call this one a mini squat or a small squat, right? You can hold on to the chair or a countertop, and with your toes pointed forward, your feet about a hip's distance apart, you're just going to sit back and down as far as is comfortable for you, and then come back up. So it's a simple squat. You can certainly make this squat deeper, right? Sitting way low if your knees and hips are okay with that. But wherever it is that you're able to work is where you're going to get the best results, right? So it might be just this small bend of the knees, trying to keep the weight a little bit back in the heels, touching or holding on for balance, but trying not to let the arms do the work of the legs. All right, I'm going to do about 5 more of these little mini squats, or maybe they're deep squats. Again, work at the level that makes sense for you. Always slow and controlled. Last one. All right, and then just do a little walk in place. So again, that would be an option for our challenge. Our challenge is going to be related to strengthening our overall legs for getting up and down. So your mini squat or your sit to stand from the chair will both be good ways to help you move towards that goal. All right, now a little more work for these legs. Let's step into that lunge type position again, that warrior type position. All right. And again, the chair is here. You can hold on with one hand or both the whole time. See what works for you. For this one, I'm going to straighten that front knee and then try to fold forward with a straight spine. Again, I can touch the chair or I cannot. If I want a little more work, I might reach the arms forward. And then I'm going to come back up tall, bend that knee, coming into a lunge. Again, this works the knee joint, okay, the front of it. Straighten the knee. Fold forward, either hold the chair or maybe reach the arms out. That knee is straight here. This works the hamstring. Come back up tall, bend that front knee. Straighten. Again, your movements can be smaller or bigger depending on what you need to do. Good, we got 2 more. Bend the knee slowly. Straighten it. Fold forward. Back up, bend the knee, straighten it, fold forward, and back up. Now let's bend the knee and stay here. Maybe adjust that stance if you need to, make it a little longer or a little shorter. I'm just holding here. This is our warrior pose, right? It's a classic pose from yoga, right? We've just been doing a variation of it with movements. And now let's hold. You can reach one arm or both arms up. Push down into the floor with strong legs while you reach up towards the ceiling and lengthen your body and your arms. All right, hands come down to the chair. Step back with that front leg and walk it all the way back, pushing into those hips, lengthening out the arms, and just generally noticing how your legs feel. They might feel different, the right and the left, because we just did a asymmetrical pose where, each leg was in a different angle and doing different things. All right, come on back up. We're going to step the other leg forward. So we're in that same stance, that warrior stance. All right. Front knee is going to go ahead and straighten. Lift up tall through the spine. Here's where we fold forward at the hip crease. Hands can stay on the chair or challenge yourself by reaching them out. Back up tall. Bend that front knee slowly as far as feels comfortable for your knee. Straighten that knee. Again, fold forward, straight spine. Maybe reach the arms. Back up. Bend that knee. Straighten it, deliberate, slow movements, really paying attention. These are all ways to get a little bit more out of your movement sessions, out of your work with your body. Doesn't matter if you're only taking 5 minutes to work with your body or you're taking like a whole hour. The better you're paying attention to what you're doing while you're doing it, the more benefit you're going to get out of it. 2 more of this sequence, folding forward, gets the hamstring, the back of the thigh, bending that knee, gets more of the quadricep, the top or front of the thigh. Last one. Good. Now let's take it into that bent knee. Hold that warrior stance. Maybe reach the arms up. It could be one arm. Remember, if you kind of want to keep that touch on the chair, you could raise one or the other and not both. Good. One more breath here. And then bring it down. Step back. Take another little stretch. This is a version of downward facing dog. This is a version of downward dog where we keep the head more level with the hips and the heart. So it's a good variation for someone who doesn't like to get their head below their heart. It's also just a convenient way to do it against a wall or a countertop or a chair and get a nice stretch for your spine and your legs. All right, coming back up tall, got 2 more strengtheners. Today we're really focusing a bit more on strength in our bodies for that, again, up and down capacity, whether it's for getting in the garden or just getting up from the couch. All right. So this one is going to target the outer hips. It's also going to be one that is good for the knee, but it could be challenging depending on if your knee is used to it. So remember, make that movement smaller or do fewer if need be. This one I call a curtsy squat. Now, I'm going to recommend you do it, with the chair so that you can touch, but I'm going to show you what it looks like this way so you can see, right? So a curtsy squat means I'm going to put the weight on one leg and then take the other leg back and across and do almost like a curtsy, bending that front knee and coming down a little bit and then coming back to center. Curtsy the other way and back up. So you can see how this does the knee at kind of a funny angle, right? Not quite straight ahead, but that's okay. The knee should be able to do that. Now, if you're experiencing pain, make your movement smaller. Maybe your curtsy just goes slightly to the midline, not as low down, okay? Again, more challenge might be not holding on and taking a deeper sit. All right, I'm gonna do about 4 more. Good, 2 more. All right, take a little moment, shake it out. All right, that one you may have noticed kind of put a little, work on our knee with it sort of turning in or the weight shifting in. This last one that we're going to do is going to turn the knees the other way, turning the toes and the knees both out. And I've got them about a hip's distance apart at the heels or maybe even a little wider. Again, I could have that chair in front of me or beside me, wherever it's convenient, if I want it to hold on to. Now, for this one, I want you to really emphasize on the way up, the squeeze of those buttocks. This is one I find is really good for stabilizing and strengthening that SI, the sacroiliac joint, right? That's just the connection of your low back and your pelvis, so your hips into your center. So I'm taking what I call a plie squat. The knees are turned down. Again, making a baby little squat, little bend of the knees, still can squeeze hard here at the top. Maybe squat a little lower if that's comfortable for you. Squeeze up. Maybe you're holding on. Again, if your knees are starting to complain, it may be that they've had enough and it's time to stop. Don't go quite as far. That's also something. And of course, we always advise that you make sure you've checked with a doctor if you've got something going on so that it's safe for you to do or try activities like this. Last 2, little plie, squeeze. 1 more, squeeze. And then turn the feet forward And take a little, again, march or movement or a little walk. See how your legs feel. I can definitely feel the work that we've done, a little fatigue feeling in my quads and in my hips. Let's come back to a seat and we'll stretch out a bit before we finish. All right, so let's start with the hamstring stretch. Extend one leg out in front of you. I'm sitting sort of right at the edge of my chair, but not so close that I'll fall or tip. Toes up, so I really got that foot flexed. Knee pretty much straight, although I don't have to keep it all the way straight. If it feels a little strained, I can keep it a little bit soft. And then straight spine, lean forward. Looking for some stretch in the back of that leg. Now, if you happen to be a little more flexible, it might help to prop that foot up. You can put it up on a yoga block, on a small table, or an ottoman, or a couple of books. Anything that gets it a few inches off the ground is going to help you reach that stretch sooner so that you don't have to lean quite as far. All right, let's release that side. Take it over to the other side. Toes up, flex that foot. Lean forward. Again, I'm trying to keep a straight spine. I'm paying attention. I'm mindful of the sensation in that leg as I stretch it. I'm also trying to make sure that I'm still breathing. I'm talking, so I have to be breathing, but it can be quite common when you get into something and you're trying to do it right and follow my instructions, and there's a lot of sensation, you might be holding your breath. So make sure you're breathing. And let's release that. Come on back up. Now let's cross ankle to knee or ankle to shin. Maybe even ankle to ankle if your hip doesn't want to roll out to that position very easily. All right, to stretch the glutes, the hip rotators, sit tall. And again, there might be a little room to lean forward. Check in with your breathing. Notice the sensation in your body as you stay in this position. Another 2 or 3 breaths. All right, and then let's release, and we'll go to the other side. Again, you can cross up to the knee. If that feels too much on your hip, try crossing right below the knee, or maybe down even at the ankle. Again, an ottoman, a stool, a block. Those are all things that can be good substitutes as well as a place to cross that ankle. Sit tall, lean in a little bit. All right, release, uncross that. All right, sit tall, roll those shoulders a couple times. Turn the head side to side. Let's just take another moment, come back where we started. A hand on the heart, a hand on the belly. Find that breath rhythm, follow it. Maybe deepening and slowing down your breath a bit. One more breath like that. Big inhale. Slow exhale. And now just a reminder, I've given you a little bit of a challenge, something to just continue working on in between now and 2 weeks from now when we do yoga again. Of course, you can find these programs, these recordings on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook, and you can repeat them. But what I'd love for everyone to work on is some version of strengthening your legs for getting up and down. You can adapt it to your needs. Maybe you need a chair in front of you to keep you comfortable with balance and safety as you go up and down. Maybe you can add extra challenge and hold a weight as you go up and down. Maybe you're going to choose the version I showed from standing, where you do a little mini squat so that your knees maybe don't have the strain of repeating up and down all the way from a chair. So there's lots of options, lots of ways that you can work in your own, best interest, your own best level, to help improve that overall leg strength. The next time we get together, I'll be checking in on how that's working for you, and we'll probably repeat that at least in our next session. So thanks for joining us. Give us your comments, your requests. We love to hear from you, and we're always grateful to have you join us here at AARP Alabama for Mindful Movement.
Thanks, Becca. Fantastic session. Great challenge for next time. And we'll be looking forward to having you again to return to yoga and mindful movement on the Tuesday in 2 weeks. Thank you so much, everyone, and thanks for coming in and watching today.
Bye, Margie.
Bye, Becca.